Have you been wondering how to build a successful strategy with open source for your company? Or why would you invest in open source projects when you can use the code for free? Are you an open source maintainer on the edge of burnout? Or a newcomer who's too intimidated to take the first steps and get involved? Maybe you're not a code developer and you think that there's no place for you in the open source ecosystem. You're not alone. My name is Ildiko Vancha, and this is the My Open Source Experience podcast, where my guests and I share our open source journeys with all the successes, the struggles, and joyful moments. Find the answers to your questions and dilemmas, and more importantly, join us and be part of the community. Hello, everyone, and welcome back on the My Open Source Experience podcast. I'm very excited about today's topic because I'm talking to someone who is a maintainer in the open source ecosystem. However, he is not a code developer. And there is this kind of silent myth and association between contributor and software developers, even though it is not equal. And I always love to have people on the podcast to help everyone understand what other things people can and what other things needed to be done in the open source ecosystem that are not code. So today I have Ariel Jolo with us today. And before we dive into all these things, Ariel, can you please tell a little bit about yourself to the audience? What is your background in the tech industry and what do you do currently?
First of all, thank you for the invitation. I'm a sysadmin by trade. I started working as a sysadmin like 20 plus years ago, but nowadays and for the last 10 years or so, you could say I'm a conference organizer and community organizer, leader, something like that. So that's what I do most of my time today.
Do you remember when you first learned about open source?
Yeah, I didn't know it was open source, but I started kind of as a like Linux enthusiast or user when I was like 13, 14, like back in high school. And at the time, I didn't really know or appreciate what open source was. I just started like running Linux, and then I got to learn like, the whole philosophy and the whole thing behind it. But yeah, it was like 25 years ago now.
I think even your nickname or one of them was Linux in high school. Do I remember that correctly?
Yeah, I got bullied because like I went to like this high school and they had like everything was we are talking about like early 2000s, so like late 1990s. So everything was like Microsoft oriented, like all the machines ran at Windows, of course, like Windows 98 we are talking about. And I was like this weird kid saying, no, I cannot run that because I'm running Linux. So a few of them called me Linux for some time. And since I was using Linux, they called me Holox with the final X. But yeah, this was like, again, 25 years ago.
So it wasn't about your like enthusiasm or and expertise and knowledge about Linux. It was just the fact that you were a little bit of an odd one out because you used something completely different than everybody else.
Again, we are talking about like kids, like very much like first year of high school. I didn't really know what I was doing, like running Linux. Like for the first year that I run Linux, like my first installation, I didn't have like video like on my display. It was black and white. I couldn't move my mouse around. I didn't have internet. So I was like that kind of a Linux user at first until I got to a more like robust distribution. And then yes, I when I did learn a little bit, and after breaking a lot of time my own like machine, like the only machine that we had at home, and I deleted files from my whole family. I made the machine like unusable for days at a time. When I did learn a little bit more, I did try to install it, and I got to install it to quite a few friends that they also wanted to know a little bit more, and they were like hearing about like this Linux thing. but it was like very off. Like nobody was using that, at least here. Or nobody that I knew, at least.
So you kind of started a little bit with this community building even when you were kids, like with your family and friends and
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. I didn't know what I was doing, but yeah, I was like gathering people around and going to my friends' houses with Linux CDs at the time and installing it for their like to ruin their own like homes, like computers, for, like, to mess with their family's computer pretty much. But yeah, and there were like some like there was a community here in Buenos Aires. I'm from Argentina, so I live in Buenos Aires, and there was a community. I was part of like Install Fest, so people grab their machines, like real like big machines, and move them around the city with their keyboards and their mouses and maybe like even their monitors. And they went places to install Linux on those machines. That's still a thing. There are some like conferences or events that do that still, but nowadays it's mostly laptops, so it's easier. Back then you have to pack the whole thing and get on the bus or get on the subway or on the train with your whole like PC setup.
I think back in my day it was more for gaming, like this
Like LAN
LAN
parties.
party, yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't much of a gamer, so I never actually did that. But I did go to. I didn't bring my own like computer, but I did go and like with like a pen and a paper and like write things and learn commands and learn things how like watching people like doing stuff. Or, oh, this is how we install things, or this is how you get your display to use colors or whatever.
Was that still throughout high school?
Yeah, yeah. Like I'm talking about like yeah, like 14, 15. I was like yeah, 14, 15 years old.
At these events where you went, were there others your age too, or was it mostly older?
I was pretty much the youngest one, if I wasn't the youngest. And this event happened like in real life, but before and after the event, you will hang out on like these online forums, and you never know who's on the other side of the nickname. But then when you do meet them, you realize these are people in their 30s, in their 40s. They have families, they have kids of their own. And I was like here, like the only kid like that was like 14, 15, 16 years old, going to like these places and yeah, learning from the adults.
How did you learn about these events?
The way that, first of all, the way that I got Linux in the first, like in my first installation is I have an older cousin who's one of the first Linux users probably in South America, and that's how I know that's how I knew that Linux existed in the first place. And then when I got my real like first CD installation, it was because of a magazine that you had to go to a kiosk and buy a magazine that came with a CD, an installed CD, and you would run that and install it. And that magazine was the one that organized like this install fest at the time. It was like the people that wrote the magazine, not even the magazine. They would use like probably the offices, but the people that were writing like the articles in these magazines, they were the ones that were running the install fest.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. I think we did have similar magazines in Hungary too when I was growing up where they I think probably in the tech ones they had some CDs and things that you could install things and try them out. So I do share that memory, although I never went to these kind of like build your system type of events, but at least the magazines and like how people got access to things before the world wide web became the thing
Yeah.
that resembles.
And actually, we are talking, yeah, about the time that you had to have your style, your own modem. Like we are talking about like before broadband, which is easier to configure in Linux probably than like with modems and everything. So I will learn how to install with modems on Linux at these like install fests.
And for you, the interest in Linux and like how to build systems that turned into a profession after high school because you became a sysadmin.
exactly. So I was running Linux and I was very happy with it and like experimenting and having fun actually. Um, and right out of high school, I learned like sysadmins. Like my cousin was a sysadmin, so I knew they were a thing. So right after finishing high school, I joined a company, like very small company, and started doing like some sysadmin work. And then I really got to work with this cousin I was talking about. He has his own, like still to this day, he's like a consultant, and he taught me like pretty much everything that like the basics, all the things that I know. Of course, things have changed in 25 years or 20 years, but he taught me the basics, and those are still the basics that apply today. Like, of course, there are many more abstraction layers nowadays, but if you go like the basics and you need to tail a log or to see something, that's pretty much the same commands that he taught me like 20 years ago.
Yeah, I remember when I started to learn Linux myself a while back, and then you learn the key things, and that gets you around. And I'm not saying that there isn't so much more that you can learn, and depending on what you do, you should learn. But in terms of the basics, I have to say that it's not a lot that you need to learn at first to get around on a basic level. And I remember like when I got involved in the OpenStack community, and you try to do the functional tests and deploy the thing, and try to understand like the basics, the Linux basics were really handy. And like even just looking into things like, oh, the CI system failed, like the tests that are ran on the community infrastructure, testing infrastructure, they failed, and then you have access to the logs. And every now and then I was able to figure out what went wrong. And if it was like the test system, sometimes it was like a package was like got a new version. It was a dependency, and then the new version wasn't compatible with the other things. And then at least I was able to tell people who had access to the CI system that, hey, I think this is the problem. It's not something that I have the permissions to fix, but they always really appreciated when someone went and looked into what the problem might be, as opposed to just, hey, the CI is broken
Well,
again.
exactly.
It makes a huge difference, and it's not just about, like reputation, but it just gets resolved faster because they don't have to start from square one. I'm not saying that I was always completely right, but when you have ideas, at least they can start from a step or two further ahead, which already saves time.
And that's one of the other things that you learn while learning like the basics and the commands and everything. You also, when interacting with people, you learn this kind of like small but very important things. Like you do your research, you do your homework first before asking for help. Like you go and ask help once you have already exhausted your own, like, okay, this is all the steps that I can do, or these are all the things that I know how to do, and I got to this point. Now I need help with this, like going further. But and that's something that you also learn like while like working in a community or talking or working with some other people. Like they teach you that, like, this is the way to do stuff.
You also went and worked for bigger companies, and I think other smaller companies too. How was your experience as a sysadmin at the different companies? Was it a good experience? Did you feel like that you enjoyed that job, or it wasn't always as good as it might seem?
It was different, of course, like working for a small, like at the time I was, for example, when I was working with my cousin, it was just like the two of us. And then I started working in bigger companies. I worked at a very big company here in Argentina. Then I got to work for Google, then like IBM. And each company has its own like culture and policies and way of doing things, but I mostly enjoyed it, especially with the people that I met. I still have friends to this day that are from like previous companies. And no, it was a really good experience, and it helped me a lot, like to like pretty much see the world in one way, but also like learning how to work with people, how to interact, how to not work with people, as we were saying. But no, it was a very good experience for me. But at the time I got to work like this company, although it was a big company and I was working with Linux, with Solaris and AIX, I didn't quite like enjoy the culture or the way of doing things of that company. And it got me like really depressed, and I didn't want to do anything else like with tech at the time. So while I was working in tech, I started like after finishing high school, I knew I needed like to major in some things, but the thing is that I was terrible, very bad at maths and programming. I couldn't just like I was really bad. So I decided I didn't want to do any career that had any maths or any numbers on it. And again, early 2000s, there weren't any careers that were like just like sysadmin. There wasn't. It wasn't a thing that you could study like formally. So I always enjoyed like advertising. So I joined an advertising school. I studied. I'm a copywriter. So I would like work during the day to pay for my studies at night. In Argentina, it's very common that you work and study at the same time. So I would work from 9 to 6 and go to school from 7 to 11, 5 days a week. Yeah, it's pretty normal here, and many people also work or study or do things like go to school on Saturdays. So I know, for example, in the US it's quite different, and we had a lot of like cultural battles at different companies I was working at because of that. But here it's so common. It's pretty much the only way most people can do it. So you work during the day and you study at night. So I studied advertising, and I decided to jump from tech to advertising. And very briefly, I had a very brief experience in an advertising agency, and then I got to start my own with two friends, with two like business partners. And I did that during 3 years, and then we had to shut down because we were really bad at like business. We were very creative and everything, but business not our thing, and I had to go back to tech. But during that time, while working in advertising, I pitched like this big tech company that we should do the local chapter in Argentina of the sysadmin appreciation day, which is a thing. It exists. If you look up, it is a celebration, a worldwide celebration, and there wasn't like a thing. It wasn't a thing in Argentina. So we did that, and this was like 2009 when we started the local sysadmin appreciation day celebration.
Was this your avenue back into tech in a way, or was the idea of the sysadmin appreciation day something that was a more of a personal interest for you?
It was both. I think it was a segue. It was like I was working in advertising at the time. I left the IT industry, but it was a way for me to go back and still be present there and still have ties to the tech industry. So I think it was both.
Can you tell a little bit about the sysadmin appreciation day if someone doesn't know this event?
It's a celebration that started like in 1999 by a sysadmin named Ted Kekatos in, I think it was Chicago in the US. And he said like, okay, there's a like day of the secretary, like there's a day of the doctors, there's a day for everybody, but sysadmins that do these very hard jobs and they don't get appreciated. And he claimed last Friday of July it should be sysadmin appreciation day, and it's a day to celebrate your sysadmin, bring them some food, give them a hug if they are willing to, and it's just like that. And then there were all of these chapters around the world, and there's the League of Professional Sysadmins, and they would list all of the chapters, and I applied, and we got listed many times. And some companies picked on it and also developed their own like campaigns around like sysadmin, mostly like sysadmin tooling. Started doing that a couple of years later. But for us, the first one was we did, as again, I was working as an advertiser at the time. We did like kind of like a mystery campaign. So we launched these videos on YouTube about like a sysadmin that people didn't understand, because that was the thing. Like only a sysadmin can understand another sysadmin because we speak in this jargon that nobody else understands. And it got like it went like viral for 2009. It got like 20,000 views in a day, which was like, it was a lot for that kind of an audience. And for 2009, it was a lot. We did a series of 4 videos, and then we announced like, okay, if you are sysadmin, if you understood these videos, go to this website, and there will be like a win your ticket, and you have to pass and like kind of an exam to prove that you were a sysadmin. And we got close to 200 people in that celebration. It was a Friday night in a disco, in a pub, free drinks because the company was paying for them. And that was the first celebration that we did in Argentina.
That's pretty awesome. I mean, obviously, it sounds like that going to the advertising school, even though it was hard, it sounds like it really paid off when it comes to finding ways to like get people aware of things and get them moving and attend that appreciation day. Like you had 200 people at the very first in Argentina.
Yeah. Starting at night and working during the day, that's pretty much standard for Argentina. That's something we all do. It wasn't that like, it was hard, yes, but it is what you do. But other than that, yeah, it was a great thing. We had like the backing of this big company, and probably it helped us a lot because that was the first one. And then the year later, I pitched the same, and they were interested, and we started like 100 maybe people, and then again, it slowly but surely grew. But probably the push that we got from this big company on the first one, because they brought in a lot of employees, it was probably the biggest one we had back then. And then we, as a community, we start. Actually, there wasn't a community back then. Like, I started the community 3 years later when I realized like, okay, there's something here, because we were doing like these celebrations once a year, and these were on a Friday night. No talks, it wasn't like an event, like okay, you have like a talk or two, a workshop or something, and then you have drinks. No, it was like celebrate the sysadmins. We would launch like an online campaign, a video at the time or something, and we would invite people to a bar Friday 8 p.m. and all that people talked about was like their jobs. They were talking about tech. They were complaining about their projects, about their managers, about their PMs or whatever. And again, it was on a Friday night. So after 3 years of doing the same thing, I realized, okay, maybe there's a need here, and people need to express themselves, and people need to get support and support each other. And that's how the community was born originally. But during 3 years, we did this one-off event every last Friday of July.
Right now, still as a volunteer, you're running a large event that grew global. And I think the last one, before the recording that we are doing today, was like a month and a half ago in Madrid. And the event is called Nerdearla.
Nerdearla, yeah. I know it's very. Whenever, if we ever do it in the US or in any English speaking country, we'll have to rename it or to make sure people understand the meaning. So the root of the name of the event is nerd. We are all nerds. We are happy. Like, we are proud to be nerds. Nerdear would be like the verb, like again in Spanish, to nerd, like to do something nerdy. Nerdear la is like to do like nerd it out, nerd it up, or nerd it out. So it's basically come and do something nerdy. And again, we are proud to be nerds. It's not a bad thing. We like, it's not a discriminatory term in Spanish. So it's like, yes, we are nerds. We do nerdy stuff, and that's the conference. It started again out of my own pitch, as you were saying. What happened was that I would go to our bi-weekly meetings, being the only sysadmin in this company, and I will go with my laptop and ask people to help me out. Like, hey, I'm facing this issue. I cannot get around it. Please help me. So I will give them my laptop, and they will try to help me, for example. But the thing that this was on a Wednesday, like 10 p.m. with many beers in, so probably wasn't the best time to try anything in production. So it was like, okay, maybe I need this, but during business hours with way less alcohol. So that was the genesis, the idea, how it started was like, okay, day-long event during business hours where people can be next to each other and help each other. That was the idea. At the time, I didn't know that like co-working existed as a term or as a concept. So I framed it as the first sysadmin hackathon. It wasn't a hackathon. Nobody called it anything, but the first one was the first sysadmin hackathon. And we got 60 people to show up in person again, 2014, out of which I knew 59, 58 of them. But it was good. It was today you will call it a meetup, although it was like from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. or something. We got one sponsor that gave us the venue and the like lunch for everybody for the 60 people, and that was the first Nerdearla in Buenos Aires. The next year, and we recorded every talk and every workshop, and we put it on our YouTube channel. The year later, we had 150 people. Some of them had watched the recordings from the year before. They were interested. The keynote speaker of the first edition was, the keynote talk was the state of DevOps in 2014. It was like the newest thing. It was when we were just rebranding from sysadmins to DevOps engineers.
So the event was called Hackathon, but in practice you had talks, like you had a keynote and you had talks in various topics that would be most interesting to sysadmins and people in tech focusing on operations kind of things.
Exactly, but more than the talks, it was a co-working experience. So what was different about this event is that you will come, I didn't know how to call it, but pretty much what you came to do was to co-work with others. And then we had like these co-working breaks. Then you will go and watch a talk. You went back, co-work for another hour, then go for a half an hour to another talk. And that was the original schedule. But what was different, it was a co-working experience. And again, at least in Buenos Aires, that didn't quite exist, or I didn't know it existed. So the year after that, from 60 people, we grew to 150 and a bigger venue, and then a few more sponsors. And the other thing that's not unique but very particular about the event is that to this day, 11, 12 years later, is still 100% free for attendees. So nobody pays anything. We rely solely on sponsors. So it's a free conference for everybody. So from 150 in 2015, we grew to 350 the year later. Then, since we were doubling up, we expected 700 people, maybe tops. In 2017, we got 1,100. It blew up the place. Yeah, it was great, but the people from the venue hated us because there was a lot of people. Not the venue wasn't prepared for that many people, but it was a great experience. 2018, 1,800 people, and then 2019 we got to one of the biggest venues in Buenos Aires, and we were expecting 2,000 people tops, and we got 3,500. So we ran out of water. We ran out of everything, batches, food. Everything was chaos because we didn't know how many people to expect. And 2019 was so great that December we decided to pay ahead to book in advance the same venue for 2020 because it was going to be even better, even bigger. So there was no way we could know what was going to happen.
Throughout that growth up until 2020, did you have the same format the whole time in terms of people having working sessions and having the keynotes and some talks, or was that concept that attracted uh, a growing number of people, or did you also switch around the format, added new things? Like, what attracted people to go to the event?
The format changed a lot, of course. The first event was one day only or half a day. The second event in 2015 was a whole day long. Then we added more days. Now it's a full week. But other than that, because the venues changed, we also kept things in parallel. So you have the co-working experience the whole day or the whole days, and in parallel you can go to sessions. So on the first one you had to choose because it was pretty much the same space. Now in bigger venues, and we are again one of the biggest venues in Buenos Aires, and we have the whole place, and we need to create new stages within the same venue because we ran out of like physical space. But I think what attracts the most, for what's more attractive for people is first of all the co-working, because it's nowadays when pretty much everybody understand that you can work like remotely. Back then we didn't have a section like it was like convince your manager to come, because this was business hours during weekdays. So the event would run on a Wednesday, on a Tuesday or a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday, and that means you need to skip going to the office pre-pandemic. Mm-hmm. So we have like letters that you could submit to your manager, or like giving them like why they should let you come to the conference, because you will be like not going to the office. Nowadays, after pandemic, we don't have the letters anymore, but we still have the co-working experience for people that need to work like from Tuesday to Friday, and they can work. We have like 1 gigabit broadband connection, which is still something here in Argentina, symmetric connection. The talks or the workshops happen in different rooms inside the same venue. And I think that what's also what attracts people the most is the networking experience, like co-working and the networking, meeting with people they know from many years back, or meeting new people that they get to know through the event. Many people come to the event to look for jobs. Many of the companies that sponsor us, they are looking to hire people or looking to showcase their product. But many people got even their first job or a new job opportunity, or again working overseas, because they got to know their company, their employer, through the event. And then of course the talks, we have very high quality speakers from around the world, and many of them come to the in-person events, and it's your chance to, this year's in 2025, the keynote speaker in Buenos Aires was Bernard Vogels, the CTO of Amazon, and he doesn't come quite often to this region, so it was your opportunity. If you wanted to meet him in person, it was your opportunity to do it here, and again, 100% free.
Here's the question. You're running 10,000 people in person, 35,000 people online event. Is this still something that you're running as a volunteer organizer with other volunteers, or have you turned this into a paid job? Because it's not small feat to do this. People do this for a living on this scale.
Yeah, I wish I could. Like at this scale, at least as of today, it wouldn't be possible for me to just live out of the conference, because whatever money comes into a conference goes out to the conference. We are running like events in Chile, in Mexico, in Spain, in Argentina. So it's not like I couldn't get a salary out of the conference. Again, it's a free conference. So it is a second job in the term of like the amount of time and effort that I put into it. But as of today, it wouldn't be possible for me to just like quit my job, my day job, and live out of like the event.
Throughout all these years with the sysadmin appreciation day, the community, the Nerdearla, huge, massive event, this is all your free time, like a non-paid maintainer job on the side, giving to the community. Wow. How do you sustain that?
It's getting harder, honestly. Every year it goes by. I have a 5-year-old now. My time is stretching thin. I don't like the way that I found it is okay. I have to sacrifice my sleeping hours, so I sleep very few hours a day to keep up with everything. So yeah, it's been hard. Although it is true, I've been doing this for like as a volunteer for many years, and I don't get a dime out of it mostly. It has given me so much, and it keeps on giving me like so many things that it's not a salary per se. Like I cannot make rent out of it, but I have traveled, I have met people, I have an interview for a job in many jobs now. The last, I don't know, 5 jobs that I got were because of the event or the things that I do. So in a way, it's supporting me in a way, you could say that, because yes, it's my presentation letter. Like, this is what I do. This is what I can do. So it speaks in that sense. So I got jobs because of the event, and I met amazing people that it would have been impossible for me to meet otherwise if it wasn't for the event. Uh, I think I'm one of the very few people in the world that have a book signed, the Unix book signed by Brian Kerning and the author, and Ken Thompson, the creator of Unix. That wouldn't have happened if it wasn't because of the event. So yes, I have to have a second job. I had to have a job to keep doing the event, but again, it has given me a lot, and it has given so many people so much that that's why do I keep doing it? Because it has given me and a lot of people that I care about a lot of things. So that's how I keep doing it. For how long? I don't know. Again, it's getting increasingly harder every year. Every day that you are like doing this, you're not with your kid, you're not like with, with your family, or just like watching a movie or a series. So it is harder every year.
How big is the organizer group? I think you mentioned that like after the first event that was marketed as a hackathon, for the second one you already had one person who spoke at the first event, and then they came and helped you as an organizer. Were you able to get more people who either volunteered to become organizers, or you found them in one way or the other to quote unquote recruit to this unpaid staff of event organizers?
Nowadays, it's 3 main organizers. It's me, Eduardo, and Hasu. We are the 3 organizers that do this every day of the year. We are already planning like Chile, Buenos Aires, and Mexico for 2026. That's just 3 of us. And then we have a lot of people that help us that are part of the like bigger stuff. We have a community manager. She like that runs the social media. She's great. We have a lot of people that help throughout like the in-person event mostly, or the production, and we have hosts that volunteer to present the talks or to be the like the ceremony the master ceremony masters during the event, or like people that are behind the scenes. During the event, we have over 100 people collaborating as part of of the staff. Nowadays, and for many years it's been the case, nobody does it for free. We pay everybody as little as we can or as much as we can. We pay everybody. We don't want anybody to be doing this out of the will of their hearts, because we know how hard it is. And we, given the level that we want to keep up the event, we want to make sure that everybody performs at the level that we want. And the only way you can do that is if you pay somebody. When you ask people to volunteer, they have a lower like relationship with or a lower commitment. So all the staff, although we call them volunteers because it's stuck the name, everybody that's part of the staff of Nerdearla is paid. And some people, they don't want to be paid, and we have to insist. And some people donate what we pay to them, and that's a private thing. And they donate because they don't want it. They want to do it because they want to do it, and they donate whatever we pay to them. But nowadays, it's not a volunteer-led organization. It is like if you want to contribute, you will be paid to be part of the staff, because you will be demanded to commit and do the things that you said you were going to do.
Is the three of you, the three people who you mentioned as main organizers, like, are you able to also get a little bit of salary, or you are putting your time into it and organizing everybody else as sort of a paid paid staff to make sure that everything at the event is taken care of, every role and every function is covered by someone who will be there and performs it.
We don't make, again, I think I understood the question. It's not like the three of us, we don't get paid. We just make sure that everybody else gets paid and all the expenses of the event are covered by the sponsors.
So in terms of the other two people, do you know if they have like a similar motivation as you do in terms of, because it's a lot of effort and it's a big dedication of you all's personal time. So do you know if they have a similar motivation as you to be this committed to the event series and getting all these people together and providing the content, the experience, or whether they have some other background that gives them this drive and motivation?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to speak for them, but I think the three of us find things in the event that makes us happy, or that makes us want to keep going. And I think the three of us have a lot of fun doing the event. And inside the event, each of us has a different role and a different thing that makes us happy or challenges us or is our way to do the things that we wanted to do. So for me, one of the things that I got to do because of the event is to run ads on the biggest newspaper in Argentina, something I couldn't do when I was an advertiser because I never got to work in a big company. So now the event, we run like a full page ad in the biggest newspaper in Argentina, and I got to do that like that advertisement myself. So that's something that's really fun for me. Or like last year, one of my co-organizers, they saw we were trying to find an attraction for the event, and they saw like this car that is like a crash car that they do for like education, for like traffic education, and he wanted to have that at the event. So we reached out to an insurance company and we got them to sponsor that because he wanted to do that. Or one of the other organizers, he met like this very a prodigy guitarist, and he wanted to get him to come to the event, and he did it. And it was his thing. It was like, okay, don't fight it. It's his thing. He will do it. So each of us has fun within the event in the way they want, as long as everybody's committed, as long as the event is done in a proper way. Each of us finds something that's really unique and a way for us, an avenue for us to do stuff that we couldn't do elsewhere. So it's kind of like playing, and it's really fun for us.
So it sounds like that one of the keys to sustain a commitment and effort like this is to make sure that you find fun in it too. So it's fun for you too, not just for everybody else.
Exactly. Nerdearla is the event that I needed somebody, as an audience. I needed this event when I started it. I needed a co-working event where people could help me. Nowadays, I'm no longer in that position. I hope I'm helping others. But for me, it's so much fun to run it. And it is very challenging. It is very demanding. I sleep very few hours. But for me, it's just like I really enjoy doing it. And I feel while the event is happening, I feel it's like slipping through my fingers, especially the ones that are smaller in Chile, in Mexico, and in Spain. It's only 3 days. In Argentina, it's 5 days. So, and again, for me, I got to go to Chile and go to Mexico because of the event. I wasn't I have never traveled to Chile or to Mexico City before, and it was a way for me. And I went to Chile and to Mexico to do scouting of venues before the event, of course. And again, that was something I could only do because of the event. So again, those are fun things for me to do.
Ariel, before we depart, can you please tell us something about yourself that, well, has nothing to do with open source? Maybe it doesn't have anything to do with events, some kind of a hobby or a fun fact that we haven't talked about yet today.
Well, I've been staring at it for quite a lot of time because I didn't realize. I always use like a blur. I'm used to blurring my background. So here we have a statue of Athena, the Greek goddess. I'm a huge fan of anime, like manga and anime called Saint Seiya. Has nothing to do with anything that we discussed, but I'm a huge fan of that anime, like manga series. I went to Greece because I'm a huge fan of that, and it happens sort of in Greece. So I went to see all the sites. I went to the Parthenon. I went to Poseidon's temple because of that. And this statue is from Greece. I used to know a lot about Greek mythology. Nowadays, I don't remember that much, but that's a fun fact that many people don't know about me.
And with that, that's all, folks. That was our episode for today. What did resonate with you the most? What new ideas, strategy, or useful tips did you hear today? Or you have a comment or follow-up question to ask? Comment on the episode below or start a conversation on your favorite social media platform. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast so others can discover it too. And stay tuned because the next episode is just around the corner.